to get to his feet.
Where the flag came in, and that's
Mariota flag.
And they're on a hurry. Oh, is he?
And the ball jarred free.
They reeled it in. His shot is down, and he's been hit. And
This is QB Unfiltered, my take. So you want to play quarterback.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you want to play tough and want to hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
So you want to play QB. Looks easy enough, right? Let me tell you, the pocket is a war zone. 1 second it's clean, the next pure chaos. You have 300-pound plus interior linemen that are spinning off of pass protectors. You've got really fast, athletic defensive ends that are screaming upfield and squeezing the pocket down from the edge. You got dudes in your face, at least the guys that you can see, and you always have that unforeseen potential for really violent hits. And from the time you take the snap until the time the ball leaves your hand, your pass protection is always evaporating while you're trying to make $1 million decision on where to throw the rock. After 35 plus years of coaching at the 4-year level, junior college, and high school level, I've seen dudes with elite arm talent and ability wash out because they couldn't handle the chaos of the pocket, real or imagined. And I've seen guys lose their career or have it significantly altered by taking violent hits in throwing the ball. In this video, I'm going to break down what happens in that roughly 2.5 to 4 second time frame when the ball's snapped until it gets out of the QB's hand. Hopefully give you a little bit different perspective on the position and the respect that's needed to be given to these dudes who stand in there and put their career on the line every time they throw the ball. Okay, we're going to skip past all of the pre-snap job responsibilities that the quarterbacks have and the skills that they must possess before the ball's even snapped. And we're going to jump right into the fun stuff. Okay, what you're looking at right here is what every QB wants to see when he drops back to throw. Big, giant lanes that provide unobstructed views downfield. Not only can you see, but there is no one within your zip code that can either alter the way you throw the ball or flat out kick your ass as the ball comes out of your hand. This is perfect. It's every QB's dream pocket, and it doesn't happen all that often throughout the course of a game. Depending on route concepts and other factors involved, there are a lot of times in the game where a quarterback has to hold the ball longer than what he wants to. And what starts out as basically a 10-yard by 10-yard box, okay, you can go 10 yards across from tackle to tackle, depending on their splits, and then go 10 yards deep. You got the QB 5 yards in the gun. He's usually around 5 yards deeper than that after he takes his drop. So we'll say a 10-yard by 10-yard box. That thing shrinks to the size of a phone booth real quick. And in that phone booth, there are some bad dudes that are hunting the QB. And what really makes it fun is that each time the quarterback drops back to throw, the pocket is different. It's fluid. It's constantly in flux. It is chaotic. And like I said earlier, it is violent. The pocket environment is totally unpredictable. Now, there are drills that you can do and that every coach should be doing with their quarterbacks in practice that help prepare them for pocket management, but you can never say any particular snap is going to turn out a certain way. Everyone is different. It's organic, and you don't know what you're going to get when the ball's snapped. And guys, when I say the quarterback position is the hardest to play in all sports, again, take all the other stuff that he has to be able to do mentally and physically. There is no other team sport or no other individual sport, I don't care what level, where a player or a individual athlete has to execute his skill set with the possibility of getting ear holed, his knee blown out, his ribs busted, his jaw jacked on every snap with 4, 5, 6, or even 7 dudes wearing hard plastic shells, their helmets, and iron face masks ready to hammer the quarterback. And guys, they've made the position safer, but for as safe as they've tried to make it for the quarterback, there are still unforeseen dangers in the pocket. And that's going to be the crux of what we talk about in today's video. Simply put, anytime the quarterback drops back to throw, and especially when he starts the throwing process, he is totally vulnerable. Okay, and I'm going to talk about two different scenarios with the QB and being vulnerable in the pocket. The first of which is getting blindsided. Getting hit from the blind side or from the backside where you don't see what's coming. And the timing's different on blindside hits. QB could get blindsided with the ball in his hands as he's standing in the pocket scanning downfield. He can also get lit up from the backside as that ball is coming through the throwing motion or just leaving his hand, and he gets drilled in the back. Okay, now you've all heard this, and there is a reason why your best offensive tackle always plays to the quarterback's backside. You've got teams with right-handed quarterbacks, elite quarterbacks, that draft tackles just to play at the left side to protect that QB's backside, his blind side. And with these blindside hits, depending on how much speed that defender's picked up before he smacks the QB, you get a really violent whiplash action with a face mask or shoulders or the crown of the helmet into the back of a quarterback. And that snaps his head back. And that's where you get some pretty good whiplash concussion type scenarios. And just like everything else in the pocket, there is no set time for blindside hits. The quarterback can't anticipate it. He can't predict when it's going to happen. They just happen. And we need to talk about getting blasted. That's not a blindside hit. There are plenty of times where quarterbacks get their ass kicked from guys coming straight on that they see coming. And I've said this in a number of these shows that one of the big job descriptions for any quarterback is to stand in there and deliver the ball and take a hit. That is his job. And a lot of quarterbacks, you talk to a lot of NFL guys, and they'll talk about perfecting throwing the ball and then turning their body so that they're taking glancing shots. Okay. And ideally, that's the way to go. But as I'm going to show you, there are a couple of clips here of two Hall of Famers for the San Francisco 49ers who took hellacious straight on blow up shots while they were playing for the Niners. The first guy is Joe Montana. And guys, this was against the New York Giants, and nose tackle Jim Burt shedded the offensive line on the line of scrimmage and had a downhill sprint at Joe Montana. Now, Montana is not the biggest dude in the world. He's really skinny when he played, but this was a deal where he saw him coming and delivered the football, and Burt blew him up. This is one of the hardest hits I have ever seen on a quarterback. Another straight-on car crash ended Steve Young's career. This was against the Cardinals, Arizona Cardinals, and safety Arenas Williams coming downhill and just hammered him right in the chest, and it snapped Young's head back, big-time concussion, and his career was over. So it's not just blindside hits that knock QBs out of games. Okay, now let's move to what I think is the most dangerous environment, scenario, and sequence when a QB throws the ball. And that is when he starts the throwing sequence. Okay, so as soon as the QB begins that throwing motion, that throwing sequence, he exposes three parts of his body that are extremely vulnerable. His legs, the push-off foot and the plant foot, his ribs, and his arm, okay, elbow and shoulder. Let's start with the legs. Okay, now, when you start to throw, that throwing sequence, you've got those feet planted and exposed. So you're driving forward with the stride foot, you're pushing off with the back foot, but both feet are in the ground. And when that front foot hits is when that weight transfers. You pick up a lot of weight off that back foot and you put a ton of it on that front foot. Either way, when you start this sequence, you are committed as the QB. You're committed to seeing it through. There's nothing that you can do with the people in and around you that are falling into your legs or diving into your knees. You are totally exposed. Okay, so we talk about the back foot, you're pushing off. We talk about the front foot or the plant foot where that weight is transferred to. I think that front foot is the most dangerous, most vulnerable part, right? Because most of your weight is on that foot and in the ground. And the quarterback is focused downfield, throwing the ball. He has no idea what's going on downstairs, around his legs, his knees, his ankles. And it's not just defensive guys that are falling into him or diving into his knees. He's getting hit by offensive linemen too, that lose their balance, that fall backwards, that trip, that stumble and fall into his knee as he's throwing the football. The quarterback has no way to prepare for this and no way to defend against it. This scenario where guys are diving in or falling in or rolling into knees, those things change quarterbacks' careers and teams' seasons, okay? An example of that was Trent Green when he played for the Rams, and he got his knee blown out. I'm going to show you footage of this right now, and he was done. Blew his knee out completely on this play. It changed his career, and it changed his backup's career. That was Kurt Warner, who they brought in off the bench, and the rest is history. But those things like that, man, that is a sinking, horrible feeling, not only for the quarterback, but for the coach. I mean, you want to see your season change just like that? Have your quarterback go down with a major injury. Okay, let's move now to the ribs. So when you push that ball up and back and you start that rotational process right here, and that ball is up here, look at what's exposed. Your entire rib panel, rib cage is exposed for hits. You're talking about the crown of helmets, hard plastic. You're talking about face masks, rubber-coated iron face masks being driven into a quarterback's rib cage. Now, QBs wear rib protectors, right? And that gives you a good deal of protection, but still the force and trauma of being hit that hard, I don't care what type of rib protector, flak jacket, whatever you're wearing, it's like somebody taking a baseball bat and swinging as hard as they can and slamming right into your ribs. So we're talking about broken ribs, cracked ribs, torn cartilage off the ribs. When I played college football, I cracked a rib, and worse than that is I tore the cartilage off the rib, and you talk about painful. You can't even breathe normal, and it kills you. That puts you on the shelf for quite a while. And then the last really vulnerable body part for a quarterback when he starts that throwing sequence is his throwing arm. And we're mainly talking about the elbow here, but it can also be the shoulder. When that quarterback starts that rotation, pushes that ball up and starts to come forward, that arm is whipping through the zone with a ton of torque and speed, okay? Just the act of throwing the ball, you're really whipping that sucker through. The danger comes in, and these are really bad when this happens, is when a defender will take his hand and either hit the wrist, the forearm, or the elbow as it's coming through with the throwing motion. So in effect, what they're doing, they're stopping the throwing motion just like that. And you can think of it this way. It's like driving a high performance sports car and stepping on the gas at the same time as you're slamming on the brakes. That's the same scenario as you whip that arm through, and all of a sudden it's violently stopped. Well, that energy has to be absorbed somewhere, and where it usually is absorbed is here in the ligaments in the elbow. For example, Carson Beck, University of Georgia, at the end of his last season there, he had this injury where he tore ligaments in his elbow and had surgery, was on the shelf for a long, time. Again, quarterbacks cannot prepare for that. You've always got defenders trying to slap the ball out of quarterbacks' hands, and sometimes they just miss the ball and they hit the arm. Other injuries that happen to quarterbacks in the pocket when they're throwing the ball, you have, this has happened to me a couple of times, and this hurts like shit. When you throw the ball, as that thing comes out of your hand, you're turning your thumb down, right? Pronate your thumb down. Well, you've got offensive linemen in front of you. It could be a defensive lineman, and you throw the ball and you pronate that thumb and it comes down and it hits the top of someone's helmet going full speed. That's a broken thumb. At least it's a severe sprain, and man, does that hurt. Try gripping a football and throwing a football with a severely sprained or broken thumb. Okay, then you've got the fingers jammed in the eyes. You know, you'll see some quarterbacks wear these shields, but a lot of those guys don't wear shields, and their hands and fingers all over the place when the quarterback's throwing the football. Very easy to stick it in between the face mask. Then you've got the face mask action where a defensive lineman will be running by a QB, reach out to grab his shoulder pads and grab the face mask and not let go. So it turns into a violent whipping and turning of the head, and that creates a lot of damage for a quarterback. And then finally, you know, you got all those big dudes in there rushing the QB. You've got your buddies in there as offensive linemen, and you get guys that are stepping on QB's feet. So they're breaking toes, they're breaking the tops of their feet, the bones in the tops of their feet, just unavoidable stuff. And this happens a lot throughout the course of a game. And like I said earlier, you've got that 10 by 10 yard square that in 2.5 seconds shrinks down to the size of a phone booth with dudes hunting the quarterback, and anything can happen. The elite quarterbacks and the real good quarterbacks, man, they make it look easy, right? But there are a whole lot of dudes out there that are watching college football and the NFL as fans, and that's their right. That's what being a fan's all about. The guys that irritate the hell out of me are the sports writers who have no idea what it's like to line up in full pads in an 11-on-11 tackle football game and stand in the pocket and try to throw the ball. But they're going to critique the hell out of these QBs. And now with social media, you've got the Twitter warriors, the TV analysts, right? Those gurus and pontificators. You've got ex-players that didn't play quarterback that are experts on the position. Okay, so the bottom line with this whole video today is that pocket, it's not easy back there. In fact, it is violent chaos. So respect what these guys do. It ain't easy. Okay, let me know what you guys think. Did I get it right or did I get it wrong? Thanks for watching. This is QB Unfiltered, and remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough,